All right, hello. Welcome back to the Try for More YouTube channel. Man, I'm excited to be here, and we are going to absolutely start with exactly what I told y'all we were going to start with. The swim. If you were wanting something more high budgeted, graphics dropped in, not your person, you're gonna have to find another channel for that one. But in all seriousness, y'all, I am so excited to talk to you with this. I know that I am somebody who was lucky to grow up a swimmer, and a lot of people who come to the sport of triathlon, that is not where they're coming from. They are coming from cycling, or they were runners and they have added in cycling and now they want to swim, or something of that combination. So I completely understand how the swim is very much so a very intimidating and probably the most overwhelming part of the triathlon day. And the truth is, you got to be able to swim to get to the bike and the run. And when I am out on the swim course supporting swimmers, I have people come up to me, and it's just me, my humor, and I'm like, all right, they're heading out of the water. I'm like, now you get to go have some fun today. And they're like, yes! All right, so that is usually what everybody's geeked about, is to get out of the water. But for me, when people are sitting there like, cancel the swim, I'm like, shooting glares like, no, we are not canceling that swim, because that is where I thrive. So we're going to start today with the swim. And let's just start with some training basics, and then we will go ahead and go into race day specifics. And we're also in there, we're going to talk a little bit about the gear that you need, that you should look at having, as well as some rules for taking on your first triathlon, or for taking on the swim portion. And so let's dive in, let's get going. So, there is a ton of information out there about gear that you can buy. And when it comes to swimming, the gear that you're gonna definitely want for training is goggles. Like, get yourself a pair of goggles, go into a store, put some goggles on your eyes, see how they fit, make sure that you're comfortable with them, because you are going to want some goggles to train with. I do not recommend training goggle free. All right, if you're a lady, you might need a swim cap, but at the same time, maybe you don't wanna buy one right now. You will get a swim cap when you show up at packet pickup, because everyone's gotta have a swim cap. It is a safety protocol. So if you don't want to train with a swim cap, you don't even have to do that. All right, so when it comes to learning how to swim, if you do not know how to swim, I highly encourage you to look into, there's a couple different things. You can look into somebody who gives adult lessons in your area. You could look into a local triathlon club, because usually the local triathlon clubs, they will have opportunities to teach you how to swim by partnering up with somebody, or maybe they even have a swim coach on their club roster, like on their club coaching roster. Or you can look into a USA or a US Masters swimming team that might be in your area as well. That might be an opportunity for you to learn how to swim. All right. From there, when you are getting in the water, one of the biggest struggles that I know adults have issues with or trouble orienting themselves, is what we call body position. So that is the line of which your body sits in the water. And this is hard, because if you didn't learn how to swim as a little one, your body doesn't know what to do when you get in the water. It's weird. You're not supposed to float. You're not supposed to live in water. Like, it's weird. Your body doesn't want to do it. Your body, a lot of times, say, this is your head, these are your legs, this is what I'll see. The legs just going through. So with that, if that is you, another piece of gear I do suggest you investing in to help you learn that body line, help you be able to take correct strokes to also reduce some strain on your shoulders, so you're not trying to also just drag those legs through the water, is investing in a pair of fins. So these fins, the ones that are like, that actually have a fin on them, not the little short fins that doesn't have much of a fin to it, but the longer fins. Investing in a pair of those, you can probably find them somewhere between 20 to 30 bucks. So that and your goggles, right? Because those fins are going to help you get oriented in the water with your body position, but it's also going to help with your ankle flexibility, because we actually want those toes now I'm giving you these as toes instead of your head, but we want these toes to be pointed in the water, and we don't want our feet to be going through the water like this. And a lot of times that's what we see it with not having very flexible ankles. So those fins are actually going to help with ankle flexibility to get your ankles a little more used to being straight. Now, with that said, you might have some sore ankles. I don't recommend wearing fins for an entire time you're in the pool, but getting them worked in there for a decent part of your workout is not a bad thing as you are learning how to swim. I said this is also going to help when your legs are getting up and you're going to know like your legs are actually going to be able to kick. You're going to be able to really focus on your arms and your breathing instead of feeling like you're just trying to claw your way up every single time. So, you know, that is also when it comes to training, I just wanted to like buzz right by this part. When it comes to training, just get in the pool. You're taking on your first triathlon. Just get in the pool and put in the yards. All right. If you are taking on a sprint, you know, guesstimate how long you think that that's going to take you, or actually better yet, actually swim that yardage. You're going to probably have to stair step up to that, but actually swim that yardage. Same thing with an Olympic. Whatever distance it is that you're taking on, actually get in the pool and swim that yardage, even maybe a little bit more. Get yourself conditioned. You know, it comes down to what kind of time do you have to give this, but you have to be able to swim in order to be able to get through, to even get to that finish line, to even get to that bike on your triathlon. If you can't swim, if you can't make it through the swim, you know, unfortunately your day is cut a little short. So you will want to spend the time in the water and make sure that you are comfortable with being able to, like, knowing that you can swim that distance. Because part of with the swim is just reminding the mind that you can do this and that you've done the training and that you know how to swim. So when it comes to like streamlining or like push offs off the wall, when it comes to flip turns, another way to push off the wall, don't get hung up in that stuff. Just get in and get the laps in. And if you can have somebody there to help mentor you, to help guide you in your stroke, even better, but get in and get your laps in. So that's kind of the real quick rundown of training. Now, when you get to race day, you're going to be in open water. And if you have not had time to get into an open water practice pre-race day, I would highly encourage you to walk down to the water and with your goggles on, in whatever you're swimming in that day, and stick your face in the water, take some breaths, breathe to the side or breathe however you're going to breathe a couple times, and look around what's going on. Because that shock of initially putting your face in the water can be really scary. Even to this day, I have some problems with it. Even though I'm very comfortable with my swimming skills, I don't know why. I personally don't like to see things move in the water. I like the pool a lot better, but you know, here we are, we do triathlon, we swim open water. So it's always really good to get in and get those eyes in the water, acclimate, see what can you see, what you can't, how far out can you see your hand? Are you able to see your hand? Those type of things. So that, and also just getting in the water and feeling that water temperature. So if it is cold, you know how cold it's going to be and it doesn't take your breath away. So let your body sit in that water for a few minutes before you get out to get to the start line. Now, when we are looking at what to wear on race day, first and foremost, this was something I had no idea about that I had to figure out. But whatever you wear in the swim, you are going to wear for the rest of your triathlon, with the exception of a wetsuit. So whatever shorts, whatever swimsuit, whatever top you're gonna wear, you wear that for the rest of your bike, or for your bike and your run, the rest of your race. So make sure that you are going to be comfortable in whatever that is. You don't need a fancy tri kit, it's your first one. You don't need to do that, but whatever shorts and whatever top you have on, if you're gonna have on a top, you need to make sure that you can wear that the rest of it, because there is no changing tent. All right. There is no changing tent. Whatever you come out of the water in is what you're going with. So if you are going to wear a wetsuit, which we're going to dive into next, if you are going to wear a wetsuit, make sure that you have clothes on under your wetsuit. And I say that because this is a very real thing that people will forget to wear clothes under the wetsuit. So please make sure that you wear clothes if you are going to wear a wetsuit. All right, when it comes to a wetsuit, do I need a wetsuit? Oh man, I've looked at the prices. Those can be so expensive. Do I actually need a wetsuit? Well, if you think about it, a normal pool temperature usually sits somewhere between, on average, like 78, 79 degrees to 82 degrees. Like that's pretty normal. So if you're getting in the pool and you feel cold, this is a pretty good indicator you might need a wetsuit. Now, the other benefit of a wetsuit, well, before I jump to that, when it comes to wetsuit rules, anything for USA Triathlon, anything below 78 degrees, you will be allowed to wear a wetsuit. And for me personally, if we're getting down to 75, 76 degrees, I'm cold, I'm putting on my wetsuit. So just something to keep in mind, wearing a wetsuit, not wearing a wetsuit, comes down to personal preference and how cold are you? Are you a person who is always cold in the water, or are you always hot? These are things that you're gonna have to answer for yourself and nobody else can answer for you. So if you need a wetsuit, that's gonna be up to you. Now, another benefit of a wetsuit is it does add a little bit of buoyancy. Now, I'm gonna say this, and I wanna be perfectly clear about this. The wetsuit adds buoyancy, so it will help your body position, so it'll help you get up. It will help you feel like you're floating a little bit more. It is not a life-saving device. It will not prevent you from drowning, all right? So it can help, but it is not a life-saving device. So just something to think about if you are still a little nervous about swimming in the open water, a wetsuit is very beneficial because it will help elevate you up so that you are able to float a little bit easier. All right, so when you are in the water and you are taking on this very first swim, if you do still have some hesitancies, I would really recommend you reaching out to whatever race company that you are, whatever race that you're doing, reach out to them and see if you can bring something with you called a safe swimmer or a safer swimmer. And this is something, mine's huge, but this is something, it's like a buoy basically. You blow it up, you inflate it, and it just nicely buckles around your waist. And this can be your own little personal like flotation device for the race, and it just trails right behind you. So not all races will let you, like Ironman branded races, you can't use one of these, but some of your local, if you're doing like a sprint or an Olympic tri, some of your local races will let you. So it's worth reaching out and asking, hey, can I have this safer swimmer with me? Because if you want that, if that's going to help with peace of mind, you know, it's worth asking the question for sure. And then that is going to bring us to lifeguards and volunteers on the water, because they are there to keep you safe. And I am very grateful that the race company that I work for, they allow swimmers to use these safer swimmers, because me being out on the water as a lifeguard, if somebody's uncomfortable with the water, I want them to have a safer swimmer because I want them to have that peace of mind. More times than not, they never need to grab it, but it's a peace of mind. And sometimes it's just like having a blankie as a kid, right? A little bit of a comfort item. And just to know like, okay, I've got this behind me. If I get in immediate trouble, I've got this there. But also keep in mind, you're going to have lifeguards and water safety volunteers on the water in kayaks or paddle boards. If you put your hands up, you start screaming, they're gonna get to you as fast as they possibly can. All right, so just peace of mind there. They will get to you as fast as they can. Now, if you are in the water and you are realizing you're having a little bit of a hard time, like swimming this open water is a little bit more, it's a lot more than you expected it to be. Maybe like your nerves just got the better part of you. You just feel heavier that morning. Take some deep breaths, remind yourself that you know how to swim, and use those lifeguards and those volunteer kayaks as your spotters. Like, okay, I'm here, I can make it to that next one. All right, I can make it to that next one. All right, I can make it to that next one. Because you are allowed to hold on to those kayaks and those paddle boards. You just can't ask them to propel you forward. You can't be like, hey, will you take me around the race course? No, they can't do that. But they can try to idle there because, you know, waves will push them, whether they want to be pushed or not. Waves will do what waves do. And they can idle there while you hold on to them. So, you know, being able to use them as a marker, like, okay, I can make it from, I'm here right now, I can make it to there. Okay, I'm here now, I can make it to there. Use those as mental markers for yourself as you make your way through the swim course. The other thing, if you're in the middle of a swim and you are starting to to get a little nervous or even tired, you can do some breaststroke, which is a great option because you're still on your stomach. It's sometimes a little bit easier. And you can see, like, you come up with every breath, so you can see the buoys. You can be able to sight just fine, or relatively just fine, hopefully just fine. You can still sight. And then you can also turn over on your back and swim some backstroke where you can breathe the whole time, right? And this is really, really awesome. Just to be able to catch your breath, take a few nice deep breaths. But remember, on backstroke, you can't actually see where you're going forward. So you don't want to hang out on your back too long, because I've been on a lot of race courses where, like, people are swimming backstroke and all of a sudden they are way off course and they're having to swim extra, and someone is having to go chase them down to veer them back on. You just don't want to swim more than you have to. So, swim on your back, but also be mindful that you will still need to check to make sure that you know where you're going, so you're not, like, way off course making yourself swim a ton extra. All right, so that pretty much covers, like, we talked about, like, acclimating to the water, some things if you feel a little worked up during your race. Now let's talk about the start. I just buzzed right past that, but this is a really important part. I know there's a very big concern about mass starts, which is a lot of what we think of when we think of a traditional triathlon start, like a whole bunch of people going into the water at the same time. Good news for you is a lot of companies, a lot of race organizations have moved away from mass starts, and they're sending people in every couple seconds, like a handful of people every couple seconds. So it's not like you have a couple hundred people or a few hundred people, whatever it is, going into the water at the same time. It is every couple seconds there is a new group of people or one person at a time going in. I know the races I did last year, it was like 3 or 4 people every 5 seconds, which was awesome. I really appreciated that. I appreciated not having to fight a bunch of people at the start. So something to keep in mind there. Another thing that you might hear is called like a wave start or a rolling start, where everybody kind of just slowly walks in together. But with this being said, no matter what kind of start it is, make sure that you seed yourself appropriately. Like, talk to people around you race morning. Hey, how long do you think it's going to take you to swim this? How long do you think it's going to take you to swim this? Try to figure out about where you think you're going to be realistically, because it's going to make it just a lot more of a calming experience for you all the way around, versus being like, I need to be in the very front, and then all of a sudden you're getting run over by a bunch of people, or if you're somebody who's really fast and you put yourself in the back, you're going to be a little frustrated that you're having to, like, constantly swerve around people and chase people down. So this is something to where it's like, you want to be really realistic about what level of swimming you have and your swimming skills. So this, I do believe, wraps it up. Real quick review. I know we're over that 15-minute mark, but y'all, I love the swim, and this is something I answer a ton of questions on. So I hope the information I gave y'all here is helpful. But real quick, just to review everything that we went over. Take your swim lessons. You've got to know how to swim. We went over some equipment that you might want to look into. Definitely goggles. You might want to look into fins. You might want to look into a wetsuit. Make sure you're wearing clothes under a wetsuit if you're going to wear a wetsuit. Went over some rules. The kayakers volunteers can't propel you forward, but you can hang on to their kayaks and paddle boards. Wetsuit rules: if it's under 78 degrees, the water temperature is under 78 degrees, you are allowed to wear a wetsuit. So that is a personal preference when it gets below 78 degrees. There is a cutoff, a bottom number cutoff, like once it's below a certain number, everybody has to wear a wetsuit. But as we're getting into the summer, it's, most, I'm not going to say all, I'm not going to blanket statement it that way, but most things you are going to, you will not hit that bottom, like, threshold of, like, you have to. But if you're concerned about that number, if you're in an area where the water does always run really, really cold, reach out and ask about that. I know I was going over the review, but I totally forgot to mention this. If you do need to get a wetsuit, or if you decide you want a wetsuit, you don't have to buy a wetsuit brand new. You can get onto, like, Facebook Marketplace, and Facebook Marketplace there's always wetsuits for sale. Now, whether or not you're going to find one in your exact size is another story, but you can also put, like, an in search of out there. So you don't need to buy a brand new wetsuit. I really encourage you to take a look at finding a used one, because a lot of times these used ones are still in pretty good condition. It's just people either getting a new one, or they're leaving the sport of triathlon, or they need a different size, or they want a different style. Like, there's so many reasons. they could be rehoming a wetsuit to selling a wetsuit. So you don't need to buy the newest, the latest, greatest wetsuit, especially if you're taking on your first one and you don't know if you're going to stick with this sport or not. Like, don't do that to yourself. All right, so from there, we also went over talking about like water acclimation morning of, and then also, the start, what you can kind of expect as everybody starts that day. So hopefully it helped answer some questions. If you found this helpful, please share it, pass it along to your friends that are looking at getting in this. Hopefully this helped calm some nerves. If you are looking to connect with me or follow along in my own journey, you can find me on Instagram, Alise_JJ, Alise spelled ALISE_JJ, just 2 letters. You can find me on Instagram there. I am just like totally geeked to be here sharing this with you all because I know there is going to be, another triathlon season's here. There is bound to be another great multiple handfuls of stories that's going to come from this year, and I am truly hoping that yours can be one of those. So that wraps it up for the swim. Any additional questions you have, drop them in the comments below. Any other questions that I didn't answer here, and I will do my best to get back to y'all. When we come back next week, we will be diving into talking about the bike. All right. Enjoy your weekend of training. Have a great one. I'll talk to y'all next week.